Have you ever just stopped and wondered what makes a life truly meaningful? It's a huge question, right? And people have been wrestling with it for thousands of years. Well, today, we're going to dive into an answer from a really fascinating piece of ancient wisdom, the very first Psalm. And we're just going to look at it as a timeless guide, one that has a surprisingly direct take on this universal question.
So what does it actually mean to live a good life, a flourishing life? I think we all ask ourselves that in one way or another. And what's cool about this ancient poem is that it doesn't just get all philosophical on you. No, it presents a really clear, structured answer that's built around one fundamental choice, a choice that pretty much defines everything else.
You see, the entire structure of this thing is built on a comparison. It's a really powerful way to get a point across, because it forces you to look at not just one path to a good life, but its complete opposite. And it does this using some incredibly vivid imagery to show us the very real consequences of the path you choose.
Okay, so this is the heart of it right here, this central contrast. On one side, you've got a life that's described as godly, and for our purposes here, that just means stable, purposeful, and deeply rooted. And on the other side, you have what's called the path of the wicked, which is the exact opposite, unstable and without any real foundation. So, let's break down what really defines each one.
First up, let's dig into this path of stability. The poem is super specific that this way of life, it's not an accident. It's not about luck. It is the direct result of very deliberate choices, both in what a person actively avoids and what they actively, chase after.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how this whole path begins with subtraction. Yeah, before you add anything good, you first have to stop following bad advice, stop just hanging around in negative circles, and stop joining in with cynicism and mockery. And let's be honest, there's an allure to that stuff. It's easy. Only after clearing all that away does the text pivot to the positive part, to actually enjoy and constantly think about a source of wisdom. It's like a two-part formula. Clear out the junk, then fill your mind with what matters.
And this is the result of those choices, illustrated with this brilliant metaphor. Just think about it for a second. A tree that's planted is intentional. It didn't just land there by chance. It's by a river, which means it has a constant source of life, of nourishment. It bears fruit, meaning it's productive, it contributes something of value, and its leaves don't wither, which is just this incredible symbol of resilience and endurance. It's such a powerful image of what it means to truly flourish.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look at the other path, because this is where the contrast gets really dramatic. The poem just pivots on a dime, using a totally different metaphor to describe a life without those deep roots. The whole tone changes.
And see, the text doesn't ease you into it. It's abrupt, it's powerful, but not the wicked. It's like a full stop, a hard turn that immediately smacks you with the opposite idea. Everything we just heard about that stable, flourishing tree, yeah, this is the complete reverse.
So you go from this deeply rooted, solid tree to this. Worthless chaff, scattered by the wind. It's just the ultimate image of rootlessness and instability. Where the tree is solid and nourished from within, chaff is just at the mercy of every little external force, every passing breeze.
And to really get the power of the metaphor, you gotta know what chaff actually is. It's the useless, paper-thin husk that gets separated from the valuable grain during harvest. It has no substance, no weight, no roots. It is literally defined by its lack of value and its inability to stay put. I mean, the contrast with that strong, productive tree couldn't be more stark.
So we've got two paths, right, defined by totally different choices, leading to two very different ways of being. But the poem takes it one step further. It argues that these paths also lead to two completely different destinations. The outcomes are not the same. In the end, the poem draws a very clear line. The path of the wicked, the path of the chaff, it leads to condemnation and ultimately destruction. It's a path that just kind of disintegrates. But in contrast, the path of the godly, the path of the tree, is described as being watched over. And that implies it's preserved, it's protected, and it endures.
So let's put it all together just to see the complete picture side by side. It's so clear. On one side, a foundation of meditating on wisdom leads to the stability of a flourishing tree, and the outcome is endurance. On the other side, a foundation of just following poor advice leads to the instability of worthless chaff, which ultimately ends in destruction. When you see it laid out like this, the contrast is, well, it's inescapable.
All right, so after all of that, the tree, the chaff, the two paths, what's the big idea here? If we boil it all down, past the ancient language and the metaphors,
What is this poem really trying to tell us about our own lives right here, right now?
It really boils down to this. Your life's trajectory isn't decided by a few big dramatic moments. No, it's the sum of your small daily choices. What advice do you listen to? Who do you spend your time with? What ideas do you let roll around in your head? According to this poem, those are the things that either build you into a resilient, flourishing tree or leave you like weightless chaff scattered by the winds of circumstance.
And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. This whole framework, this idea of two paths, one of deliberate, rooted growth and another of aimless instability, it was written thousands of years ago. But does that fundamental choice, the choice between being the tree or being the chaff, does that still hold true for us today? That's definitely something to chew on.